Hello out there in Nostalgia Land. I'm Chuck Schaden. And for the next hour, we're going to reminisce for a while with Eddie Hubbard, one of Chicagoland's premier radio personalities, and with Jack Mulqueen, the man behind a favorite kids' TV show in the 1960s. We're going to have a lot of fun, so stick around. We'll all begin this in just 1 minute. Don't touch that channel.
Have you shopped the papers lately? It's ridiculous trying to get what you want on sale. Well, come to the Superstore, Townhouse TV and Appliances. You can't miss. During Townhouse's store-wide super sale, everything's on sale. Over 1,500 TVs, VCRs, and appliances.
Look, even save big now on famous tap and self-cleaning gas ranges.
Join the Townhouse team. Get this t-shirt free.
Come to the Superstore, Townhouse TV and Appliances, Milwaukee and Oakton.
The home of your family's dreams is just around the corner with an affordable mortgage loan from Cragen Federal Savings. Cragen Federal offers a wide range of adjustable mortgage plans, so you'll find one to suit today's budget and your budget years from today. Make your family's dream home a reality. Call Cragen Federal now at 889-3230. Cragen Federal Savings, over $1.8 billion strong.
The young man you're looking at is 19-year-old Eddie Hubbard, photo taken about 20 years ago. Eddie is our guest this time on Nostalgia. And Eddie, we're so happy to have you with us today. We're pleased to have you join us.
Chuck, thank you very much. I can't believe that picture. And anybody out there saying he hasn't changed, honey, I appreciate it, but it's a lie.
39, right? You're 39 years old?
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's my first radio job back in Baltimore, WITH.
Did the WITH stand for anything?
No, it just happened to be a lucky, that's the time when they were starting to form names with the call letters. It hadn't been done much before that. But all of a sudden, like KOOL, California would have the letters. And didn't mean anything, really. It meant a lot to me as my first job.
Oh, yeah. Well, how did you get that first job?
Well, I was going to school. I was studying law, University of Baltimore. And I always wanted to be in radio. This new station came on, and I was working part-time for a chiropractor, giving his health talks on the air about twice a week. And so I went down, I had radio experience, and I auditioned. And luckily, I guess they must have seen something in me, and they hired me. I think I worked cheap, I think is what it was.
The magic word in radio,
yeah,
right?
Money, you know. And so it worked out very well. I got the job, and that was the beginning of my career, so I'm very grateful to Mr. Tinsley and everybody that gave me that shot there. Yeah.
Well, when did you come to Chicago then?
Well, I worked in radio for about 3 years, and I decided, well, maybe I'm ready for the big jump. Because I was reading in Variety, which is the Bible of our business, as you know. And I read one time, now I'm talking about 40s, and I read where a guy named Barry Gray was getting $1,000 a week. Now, I was making $22.50. You know, that's a big jump in salary. Yeah. Right. And I thought, it must be, maybe it's a town. So I'll go to, rather than go to Florida or to where he was working, or to New York or California, why wouldn't I go to Chicago? Because an old classmate of mine, Gary Moore, had done very well here. So I wanted to walk backwards and trace his career, perhaps. So I did come to Chicago, and which was an event in itself.
How did that happen?
Well, as a matter of fact, there was a fellow in Baltimore who was an agency man named Harold Kay. And he said, when you want to come to Chicago, if you make up your mind to come, let me know. So I wrote him a letter. I said, Harold, I'm going to be in. I named the date, and I'll be arriving Union Station, the whole thing. And I didn't hear from him. I just assumed that, you know, he was waiting for me. So I quit my job at WCAO at the time and hopped on the train. Came to Chicago, 8 o'clock in the morning, Union Station, suitcases, and the whole thing. Walked in his office. He's surprised to see me. He never got the letter. And I assumed when I came in, it'd be jobs waiting and all kinds of things, you know, but it didn't work that way.
Well,
so,
what happened? Were you out of luck then at that station?
Well, no, it wasn't a job particularly. Just I came to freelance.
I
just to look around. I had no job. I had no job when I came to town. I just, you know, kind of comment, you know.
Did you want to be an announcer as such?
Of course, yes. Yeah. I wanted to be actually, not so much an announcer. You see, as you know, it's broken down into areas. I wanted to be like a performer, on-the-air performer, or They didn't use the word DJ at that time. That's a newer word. They call them radio personalities. There are people that do their own radio shows and that bear their name, and there are others that just want to do voiceover work and make a tremendous living at it. A lot of people right in our town, Ken Nordine, just comes to mind instantly, who's done quite well, just announcing without any personal identity. So I was just ham enough to want the name, the name to be attached to it.
Well, where did you land then first in Chicago?
Well, I landed at WIND. That was my first job, and Ralph Atlas said, "Well, I like your work." He was kind of a hard guy to know. I later became a very good friend of Ralph's. He was a very nice man and a real power. He and his brother Les in this town, they were like the moguls of radio, and he had a gruff manner about him. And at first, he doesn't like me, but I found that he did. He liked my work. He said, "But I can't hire you until our program director comes back from his vacation." And I waited until the program director came back, and he heard it, and that program director was Howard Miller. And Howard was not even on the air at that time. He was just actually working in a semi-executive capacity. So he hired me to the morning show, and opposite Don McNeil, and luckily our ratings started picking up, and then I think my real break came just being at the right station at the right time, because Chesterfield at that time was looking for a disc jockey show or a record show. And so they auditioned a lot of people. So Howard says, "You would like to audition?" Said Chesterfield wants to do a nightly radio show. Well, I came to the audition. It must have been everybody in town that could speak was there.
Well, this was a national sponsor now.
Oh, yeah. And they're buying local time because they found that the radio disc jockeys were starting to make a little noise. So they had already bought Martin Block in New York. He was their baby and their voice at Chesterfield.
Was that the make-believe
yeah, right,
Martin Block?
Yeah. So they bought time on his station. So they auditioned all of us, and golly, I don't know, every major guy in town had done it, had auditioned. And I guess about a month went by, and they made a decision. 3 of us were the finalists. And we had to do another audition, and it was 2 of us. I will not mention the other guy's name. I don't know if he knows he was in it or not. But I was lucky enough to win it, and I went to New York and met with the brass, and the show ran for 7 years. It was, I must say, the real one event, the real one show that did establish me in this town, if any show did, and that was it.
That was the ABC Club.
That's right, Chesterfield ABC Club.
Was that middle of the evening, 9, 10 o'clock or something?
It was 10 to 11. And I used to get all kind of calls from mothers. "Can't you make it earlier? The kids want to do their homework and go to bed," you know. So
I listened to that. I was just a wee tot.
I know you were. About this high.
That's right. But I remember listening to that, and you had the ABC tune. Was it every night or every week?
Every night, yeah. We decided to do, I guess it was the first honest record survey. We went around to all sections of town and suburbs, and one night would be like the north side, excuse me, Tuesday night the south side, and we would call 4 record stores, and they would report every day. We had a staff just did that, and they gave us the actual count. And then we found out that a lot of record distributors were going around telling us stories, and I tell you what, if you report my record as number 1 or 2, I'll give you an extra box of records. So all the hanky-pank, you know, if there's a way to break into something honest, but anyway, it was the first honest one, and we did start that this town.
And ABC stood for the slogan that Chesterfield's had, "Always buy Chesterfield's."
Always buy Chesterfield's.
ABC. They promoted that. And they were on the air nationally as well. Didn't Perry Como have the Chesterfield Supper Club?
Yeah.
And I know that I've collected radio tapes, of course, as you know, and I've got some of those shows where Perry Como talks about you as his pal, the disc jockey in Chicago.
Right, yeah.
And they would do that. As a matter of fact, I have a photo. Speaking of Perry Como, this is a picture of you and Perry Como. Can you remember this?
Yes, I do. Chesterfield was very good to me, and when they had you under their contract, they were very nice, like plugs, network plugs. There was no television, so radio plugs were very, very important. And they would bring me in about every 3 months to announce that show. They give Martin Block a day off, and I would announce it. And the picture you're seeing is at the rehearsal. And of course, when you pose and you're working for Chesterfield's, you always have to have a pack in hand. And Perry, we did smoke some, I must say. Not anymore. I don't smoke at all anymore. I don't think Perry does either. But anyway, that's
He stopped smoking as soon as the Chesterfield
No, it wasn't that
ran.
easy. It wasn't that easy. But I was taking that rehearsal, and what we would do then, we were talking a while ago about tape and that sort of thing. There was no tape, so what we would do, we would broadcast Eastern Time at 7 o'clock, 7 to 7:15, a 15-minute show, and then everybody would go out to dinner, and they would come back and do that same show live. So they didn't, they transcribed it to hear the mistakes. So actually the second show you heard, the one was carried in Chicago. We took the 11 o'clock there, it was 10 o'clock here. So the show that came here was the best because the first show was only a rehearsal for the East Coast.
That's right, yeah.
And so they were very nice, and they brought me in the summertime to replace Perry Como's show with the Glenn Miller Band. And talk about thrill. You said, ask me what one of my biggest thrills in life was. What was your biggest thrill in life? That's exactly it.
That was it, huh?
Yeah. And I got a call one morning at home from Larry Bruff, who was in charge of hiring all the talent. And he said, Eddie, he said, how would you like to come in this summer for 13 weeks and announce the summer replacement for Como? I said, who's it going to be? He said, Glenn Miller Band with Tex Beneke.
Oh, man.
And there was a silence, and I remember his next words is, Eddie, are you there? And I said, yeah. The blood finally came. I said, you're kidding. You know, just a kid, a Glenn Miller Band. I couldn't believe it. One of the biggest thrills of my life. And I recall that with.
And then you were heard nationally then with that.
Oh yeah, that was
on those Chesterfield Supper Club shows and the others too.
That's right. And what I did, the local show, I taped that at CBS in New York. I go once a week, and that was kind of a day on our off day, which was Thursday. Tuesday and Thursday we were off, plus the weekends. But I would go into the Columbia studio like 9 o'clock in the morning, and record 7 one-hour shows for Chicago, and mail them back to Chicago. And that's the hardest work I did ever, you know.
Yeah, a lot of that.
Well, you know, doing 7 one-hour shows and commercials and everything. So, but it been a great period of time for you too. Oh, it was, yeah. Doing all of that stuff. Yeah. We've got lots more to talk about, and we're going to be joined by Jack Mulqueen in just a couple of minutes. Oh, okay, that's great. We're going to talk because I know you know Jack, and you worked with him too for some time. So we're going to do some more reminiscing. Very good. So if you'll stick around, we'll be back. Don't touch that channel.
No matter what your reasons for saving, Craig & Federal has a savings account just for you. From conveniently accessible accounts like the insured money market or regular passbook, to a range of 8 CDs of varying terms and interest rates. And with any of them, you're sure to get a highly competitive rate. So whether you're saving for something big or small, short-term or long, Craig can help you achieve your savings goals. Call Craig & Federal today at 889-1000. You'll find a generous helping of memories from and about the good old days at Metro Golden Memories in Chicago. We have a complete selection of records and cassette tapes from the fabulous big band era, plus thousands of personality recordings by your favorite singers. We offer a gigantic collection of books about the movies and the stars from those wonderful days of not so long ago. At Metro Golden Memories, you'll find a marvelous collection of celebrity statues, plus our famous Maltese Falcon replica, the Oscar look-alike, even Little Nipper, the RCA dog. Hundreds of old-time radio shows on record and tape. And lots of books about radio and television, too. Posters of your favorite movies and movie stars. And videotapes of the classic films from Hollywood's golden age. Hundreds in stock for sale or rent. All this and more at Metro Golden Memories, 5425 West Addison Street, just 2 miles west of the Kennedy Expressway in Chicago. Open 7 days a week, Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., Sunday from noon to 5. Come in and browse.
Have you shopped the papers lately? It's ridiculous trying to get what you want on sale. Well, come to the Superstore, Townhouse TV and Appliances. You can't miss. During Townhouse's store-wide super sale, everything's on sale. Over 1,500 TVs, VCRs, and appliances.
Even save big now on GE appliances, including GE refrigerators.
Join the Townhouse team. Get this T-shirt free.
Come to the Superstore, Townhouse TV and Appliances, Milwaukee and Oakton.
And we are going to continue reminiscing with Eddie Hubbard and Jack Mulqueen, who has joined us now. Jack, welcome to Nostalgia. Glad to have you with us.
You
You guys know each other for a long time, don't you?
That's right.
How
I
long
just said
you
a while ago, how long it goes away, a number of years, but I said that when I came in today, I haven't seen Jack for a while. I said, anytime you see old friends at funerals, weddings, and now television shows, so
This is a better occasion than a funeral or a wedding. Well, maybe not better than a wedding.
Yeah, watch yourself. You're going to get yourself in trouble.
He's still upset with me because I gave him the wrong directions to my house one time.
That's right.
Ended up at Kenosha instead of...
Well, we're together, and he's got a great story to tell about his past. I tell
Jack, you have developed one of the big popular local kids shows, Kitty A Go-Go, and that was almost through the whole period of the 1960s.
Right, up to about 1970.
Yeah, when did it start? When did Kitty
About
A Go-Go
1965. And it was started kind of by accident without anybody knowing it, including the station. I just told us the program director at ABC, which was WLS-TV at that time, that next week I have a new show for you to see. And that's the first time they were aware of the show going on the air. I was doing the old format, which I started out in WGN, which was a combination of a puppet and my wife Elaine played Pandora. And we took that plot and elaborated on it and brought a live studio audience in and had the kids dancing to the then popular go-go type music.
Well, that was called the Mulqueens, wasn't it?
Right, the original show was called the Mulqueens, and then we expanded on it to call it the Mulqueens Kitty A Go-Go.
You were a puppeteer primarily.
Yes, that's my background, right. I very seldom seen on TV.
Really?
Without my hands, just my hands, right. Exactly. I like to hide behind things.
Yeah. Now, wait, all right, let's see. What do we have here?
I brought this along to show
right?
our Kitty A Go-Go sweatshirt, which was sold through the Carsons at that time. And this is, they were sold to kids anywhere from the ages of 5 and up. Were part of our studio audience. In fact, we received thousands of pictures of kids standing in front of the TV set by their parents. One time I showed a few photos that had come in and of the kids dancing in front of the TV set, and the response from that was overwhelming. We just received thousands of pictures of Polaroid shots of the kids in front of the sets that used to be part dance while they were watching the show.
Well, now, was this as a result of the popularity of Dick Clark's stuff?
Well, Dick Clark played go-go music, but during that period that go-go music was popular, you had the dances where the Monkey, the Swim, the Popeye, Batman was on TV at that time, the Batusi, and all the things were juvenile. And then you had songs like the Popsicle, Little Red Riding Hood. These were songs that were one on the Billboard at that time, and on WS was playing. So the disc jockeys from WLS were very much a part of this show. And we, the only place in Chicago the local recording artists could go was our show. So we had everybody from Sonny and Cher to Roger Miller, Glenn Campbell, the Four Seasons, and on, including Dick Clark, who...
Clark, too.
Dick Clark came on our show and sent a letter back to us and said the first show he ever danced on was the Kitty A Go-Go television show.
Did you send your kids on to him then when they grew up and say,
well, we did that, though. We had a reciprocation. We actually sent kids from our show onto his show.
I was kidding, you did
right,
that,
yeah.
Oh,
see, you didn't come up with the idea.
Well, it started with American Bandstand or whatever it was, the dance shows for the older kids, right? The teenagers, really. That's right. And your area was the younger kids.
Right. We're the pre-teen type of thing, right.
Well, how old was the youngest?
I'd say 5 years old. You'll see kids, I know we got a clip on the show.
Sure. Yeah, right.
We just happen to have a clip.
Yeah.
The clip on the show, which shows kids about 5 years old. In fact, there's a scene, I don't know if you're going to show it on this half-hour show, where they show a little 3-year-old in the audience dancing.
I don't remember whether we had it. Well, why don't we get to this? Okay. Now, this is one of the most popular shows in Chicago through the middle and late 60s. It was called Kitty A Go-Go, and your wife, Elaine, was Pandora.
Right.
And she came out of, what, Pandora's box?
Right.
It opened up, and
we
she
had
welcomed
the opposite, Chuck, of the, the bad things coming out of the box. Yeah. We brought the good things out.
She was a good Pandora.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, well, let's watch a little bit of Kitty A Go-Go.
Kitty A Go-Go, go-go. Kitty A Go-Go, go-go. Kitty A Go-Go, 1, 2, 3. Hey,
it's time to play the Mulqueen's Kitty A Go-Go.
We're going up, Kitty A Go-Go, go-go.
This part of Kitty A Go-Go is brought to you by Mickleberry's plump and juicy Franks and their delicious variety of cold cuts. And now here she is, the girl who makes the scene every week on Kitty A Go-Go, Pandora.
Hello out there, Kitty A Go-Goers. Are you all ready to twist and shout? Oh, wonderful, because once again we're going to be doing the duck, the Popeye, the jerk, and all your favorites, just like your big brothers and sisters. And that's not all. I've got a big surprise for you. Today, right here in person on Kitty A Go-Go, we're having the new Colony 6. Oh, we're going to have a lot of fun here on Kitty A Go-Go today, I can tell you that much. But
Kitty A Go-Go, go-go. Kitty A Go-Go, go-go. Kitty A Go-Go, 1, 2, 3.
And now on with Kitty A Go-Go and review time. And so could we have little Sweet Sue over there, one of our Kitty A Go-Goers, give our wheel a spin? How about giving it a spin there, Sue, and we'll find out what our first go-go dance is going to be. Aha, the jerk. And our first song, a big hit for Mitch Ryder called Little Latin Loopy-Loo. Come on, Kitty A Go-Goers, let me see that jerk. Let's go.
All right, is everybody ready? Yeah! Now here's the song I found while looking through some songs the other day. We're gonna try and do it again, Dave. It's called Latin Loopy-Loo. You ready? Yeah. All right.
How about showing me the pony now? Hang on the reins and let's go. Now goes glorious.
Talking about my baby.
Hey, what kind of swimmers do we have here today?
She's a handsome baby.
What swimmers?
She's my little baby. Whoa, little
How about the Freddy?
if you wanna do the job, loopy, put it down.
And that good old monkey.
She's the best romance around. She's my little baby.
Oh, Popeye.
Loopy-loo. Hey, Papa, loopy-loo. Oh,
Oh, let's mix them all up.
Here we go. Okay, that's really fun.
I
That
like
looks
that,
great,
yeah.
huh? Jack, that was terrific. That looked like a combination of Jane Fonda's Workout and then the girl with the Wheel of Fortune. That might have been a young Vanna White. I mean, would that have been approximately the right time? That was in
That would put her in the
late,
age, right
60s,
age bracket, right?
Maybe it was. Who
Probably
knows?
so,
Might have
yeah.
been.
Yeah, that was
Might
good.
have
I like that. That one kid in front of you, you know, the dominant fellow, was he part of the act or just one of the audience?
Well,
he's very good.
We usually tried to dress up the front with a few people from different dance schools, so I think he represented a dance
That
school.
wasn't you, was it? There's a
No, I was young then, but not that young.
Now, we didn't see you in here. Now, you were producing this, and you were also, there was a series of puppet things that went on with
Little
this, too,
vignettes
and
of
you were
puppets
with
throughout
that.
the show, right?
Now, I've got a couple of, this was not a chintzy little show. This was a big deal show. It made the cover of these TV magazines a couple of times, more than once, more than twice, actually. And now here's Pandora, and who are these puppet characters?
Well, that was the horse was called Stage Door, a character that I created, and also the lion was Marvin. And they all worked around a circus plot. You can see on one of the covers a kind of a circus drop in the back. So they tied in with the circus theme, and they were characters that were used on the shows. And when they first started out in WGN, the puppets were the main part of the show, but we found out we had to compete with cartoons on Saturday morning because we were on prime kiddie time. And in order to compete against the networks, WGN actually threw us on Saturday morning because they couldn't come up with a program. I was an independent producer. I wasn't fortunate to say by the the Atlases to say, hey, there's a great talent there. I had a situation where, just like yourself, I bought the time and with the sponsors and everything else, and was an independent producer on Saturday morning, and WGN at that time was having a hard time competing against the networks, and they were happy to see somebody come along and on prime kitty time and put on a show and come up with a good rating. So they put us on opposite and I was looking for the prime kitty time had cartoons on, and my budget wouldn't allow any good cartoons, so I took came up with this concept because I wanted to go after network, and we succeeded. In fact, we were not only nominated 3 times for Emmy Awards, but we were also considered for ABC Network at that time. They were very seriously considering, but we had to fight the problem at that time that rock and roll music was not acceptable on TV or most of the stations. The only stations that were allowed to play it is the radio stations of WLS and WCFL, and a lot of the program directors would look at me and say, hey, you know, this stuff is adult, not for kids. And it's amazing how it's changed since then, you know. And
they wouldn't go for any other rock music at that time on TV.
WGN, you know this for a fact, wouldn't play rock music at one time.
The longest time, right?
Yeah. Well, Eddie, you were with WGN Radio for a number of years, and you never played any rock music.
No, they didn't start playing rock, I guess, until, I'm going to say the mid-'70s, or even later than that.
Yeah, I think it might have been
strictly traditional, you know, whatever, Perry Como and things like that.
Now it seems that we're all inundated with rock music everywhere you turn, except if you watch. So if you listen to Eddie Hubbard on WJJD 6 nights a week, Sunday through Friday night, right, on WJJD, and then you're on a satellite network.
On Saturday, we do
Saturday mornings, which goes where? All over the nation.
From Bermuda to Hawaii, 120 stations carried, and it's a show. It's the same kind of music, though. We're playing the Glenn Millers and the
big bands and the great vocalists and all of that stuff. Yeah. The bastion of sensibility in a world of rock and roll,
right? The bastion of
Spell it right.
I like that. Very good, Jack.
Jack, we've got lots more to talk about with you and television. And Eddie, we want to reminisce a little bit not only about your radio career, but so many other things that you've done. You've done movies and television and nightclubs and the works.
Train Seal Act, all those good things.
Train Seal Act. We have the original ball, right, that you balanced on your nose. On WIND. It was bounced over from you from Howard Miller.
Exactly, that's right.
They passed it back. So if you can stick around, we'll be here. So don't touch that channel.
Have you shopped the papers lately? It's ridiculous trying to get what you want on sale. Well, come to the Superstore, Townhouse TV and Appliances. You can't miss. During Townhouse's store-wide super sale, everything's on sale. Over 1,500 TVs, VCRs, and appliances.
Look, even save big now on Zenith color TVs and Zenith video recorders.
Join the Townhouse team. Get this T-shirt free.
Come to the Superstore, Townhouse TV and Appliances, Milwaukee and Oakton.
There he is, number 27.
Hey, look at him go. Oh. Daddy, not again.
I wish there was an easy way to do this.
There is. At Film to Video Labs, we transfer home movies, slides, and photographs to VHS or beta videotape.
I knew there was an easier way to do this.
And it looks so much better.
Come to our store in Skokie or call 674-4466 for a location near you.
Everybody has their own way of saving, which is why Cragen Federal has so many different savings plans. With our 9 different CDs, you'll have the option of varying terms and you'll receive Cragen's high rates. Or if you want instant accessibility, you can choose our insured money market or regular passbook account. Plus, when you choose a CD or open a regular passbook account, you can pick from over 30 practical gifts. Get your money working with a Cragen account that's right for the way you save.
It's one small step for man.
Share the experience.
The candidates need
and unlock the memories at Chicago's Museum of Broadcast Communication.
Director of the Mercury Theater and for the latest local results.
Celebrating
Best in radio, television, and advertising. For membership information, call 565-1950. Chicago's new Museum of Broadcast Communications. Come, share the experience.
Fell asleep. We're talking about the good old days, not so long ago, of radio and television with Eddie Hubbard and Jack Mulqueen. And Jack, you were the man behind Kitty A Go-Go. Now, your wife was on camera most of the time as Pandora, and you were working the hand puppets and things like that. And you, right?
That puts me behind, yes.
Behind the scene, way behind the scene. Now, you did some of the announcing on the show?
Yeah, because it was, we were independent producers, we worked on a very low budget, so whatever we could do, putting the show together. We did have a writer, though, named George Bloom, who went on to write for Welcome Back Carter and the Dean Martin Show and the Gold Digger Show and a number of national television shows. So we had an excellent writer who was working for WBBM Radio at the time.
A very good station, I might say.
Oh yes,
I wonder why.
A good station.
I was just going to say you're on. I was just saying to you, we're on radio now 7 days a week, and now that you're telling me you're going to be on this program is going to be played 30 times, so I figure you're going to be it'll be the Chuck Shaden's Nostalgia channel pretty soon.
Always never forget though that you can touch that dial, and get rid of it. So you always have to do your best. Now, when you were producing your show for WGN, you mentioned earlier that that you brought in the show, you packaged the show as an independent producer, and in effect sold it to WGN, they bought it from you, or whatever you had to do for that. They would never do something like that today, would they?
If they did, they put a big premium on it. They wouldn't give you the studio. I actually was able to get the studio as part of the package, the cameraman, a director, and everything else. They want you to bring in, I think you're probably aware of that, they want you to bring in, if they accept it, a videotape already packaged.
Well, why couldn't you do that? Why couldn't you use their facilities? And I know a lot of the...
not for the price. I don't think the price would be just so prohibitive today in comparison to what we had, because it was for $1,000, and I think you'll appreciate that. That's what the half-hour show was running.
That was your budget?
Yeah. For $1,000, that's what they gave us, the studio and everything, the director and everything else. You couldn't come. Some of the stations, which are the UHF 60 and that, want to just bring a tape in. They want $5 grand for a half hour, which is kind of ludicrous. Because for an independent producer, doesn't have the opportunity. Another good thing to remind you of how things change. At that time, Elaine, as Pandora, could do the commercials. The FCC passed a ruling back in the 70s saying that they no longer could do the child talent could no longer do the commercials.
Well, I think that was protective, though, for the kids. The kids, if the talent on the show, Uncle Ned or Uncle Bucky or whoever it would be on the kids show, Bozo.
You guys watched all those shows?
Oh, sure we did. Lucky Pop and Howdy Doody, right? You wouldn't, if Pandora said, buy this, kids, I mean, that was
the personal endorsement
absolute greatest endorsement there could possibly be. And that was detrimental to the kids. And I think I tend to go along with that. Maybe you wouldn't agree with that because you were involved in the show. What it really meant to you was that you had to hire somebody else to do the commercials.
Well, not necessarily. The sponsor liked the merchandising part of the package. And if the sponsor, we would tie in with the sponsor. We were even able to put in the on our WGN show, where we had about a 200 audience. We took over the Bozo Circus. We had Certified Foods as a sponsor, and we were able to put Raggedy Ann in the background, and we were able to do a lot of merchandise. And then Pandora went out and made personal appearances in conjunction with the sponsor, which was a great selling point to compete against the other stations that weren't doing this, or the other programs that weren't doing this.
More saleable to the client.
Exactly.
Sure. Yeah.
So all that merchandising was pulled in. That means it was harder to sell a sponsor when that rule changed, even though I agree with you what you're saying about the fact if you're pushing a certain product.
Well, on the other hand, if it's a good product, one you can be proud of, I don't see where it makes any difference. It's not injurious to a kid. I can see where, for example, I have an expensive...
You're on my side.
No, if it's something ridiculous. I remember one time, I think one of the television manufacturers had are you going to let your child be deprived of television? It was one of these deals. I mean, do you remember that? I can't think of the, but there's a big one. And then they said, well, how about the poor people who can't afford a television set? And you're a poor kid. I can see something like that. But you're talking about, you want to buy a candy bar, you're going to buy a candy bar anyhow. And
yeah, but there are some parents who don't want their kids to have the candy bar.
Well, buy a television set. Either way. No, but
Jack, your program was so popular that you really had bounced pretty well in the ratings against those cartoon shows on the other on the network stations. What was your biggest? What do you estimate was your biggest audience at any one time?
Well, on Channel 7, we had 200. I mean, ARB rating was, and it ran consistently, was 247,600, and we competed. We knocked off WGN, which was running Three Stooges at that time, and that was quite a competitive program. And we knocked off CBS with their rating at that time, and we were only, the #1 show had about 251,000, so we were only a couple thousand out of being in first place with our rating.
It's amazing.
Pretty good.
There's a photo here that, now we didn't see you very much on the air in the show. We didn't see it in the videotape we watched before, but here's a photo of you next to Pandora. Now, what are you supposed to be in this thing?
I played a character called Mr. Hands to kind of balance the show. The uncle image, the psychological, the uncle image, Elaine was more the aunt image for the kids, and they needed an uncle image, male image, to make the balance. So I went on and played a character called Mr. Hands, and that was part of my fan club at that time, giving me a sweatshirt that I put on. I was wearing it. So my fan club had come down to the show, and but
if
it
my
was
uncle
fun.
wore
It was a fun character.
Is
your uncle wore? That was a bowling T-shirt.
Very good, Jack.
Yeah, but you have to make, that was within the budget.
Yeah,
see?
that's right. Yeah,
now, Jack, today you are an advertising executive. You have an advertising agency.
I have a small advertising agency and some very sophisticated clients that I work with, including Kraft and Carson's here in Chicago, and been very fortunate. And I still, as you know, dabble in the movie end of
yeah, you're
TV
very big with vintage movies and things. We'll talk about that in a little while. Eddie, I have to talk with you about your extracurricular activities. Now,
I watched that
radio,
now.
radio, of course, has been your mainstay all these years, and I don't think there's anybody who can equal you as a radio personality, as a man who knows his craft. I mean, you know how to do it, but you know what the audience is looking for. I mean, when you talk a little bit about Patty Page and how she opened at the Chicago and this stuff and that sort of thing, and then you talk about Johnny Ray and some of the other. I mean, you were there and you know about it, and it's wonderful to hear all
To me, it was current events. To other people, it's history.
Well, but
I lived that era, you know.
Yeah, well, and you were, and they were all, and I say this with the fondest sense, catering to you, because you were one of the top radio people in Chicago. They all wanted to gain your favor so that you would play their tunes, and you made hits and you played them, and yet you always over the years have tried to do other things. You have a nightclub act, as a matter of fact, don't you?
Yeah, that I fell into it. I started to. People asked me if I might give a talk. You know, would you talk about radio? And I thought, well, why don't I combine my banjo playing and ukulele and guitar playing? And so I formed a little act. I said, well, I won't do a speech. I hate to do speeches. But anyway, I formed this act, and somebody said, hey, would you like to do it here? So we went to the Sabre Room. We played the Sabre Room about 5 times. We started just playing it around. And then we have worked with a trio, and my wife also works in the act with me. We do a little English-Spanish bit together and the whole thing. And so I do it periodically, and I enjoy it because, as you know, sitting in the studio, this is a little different for you because you're doing television now, which is a little breakaway, because we sit in the studio and it's just a routine thing. You wonder sometime, it occurs to you, I'm talking to this doggone microphone, I wonder if anybody is really listening. I mean, you assume, you know, a certain number of people.
Well, anybody on radio has that feeling once in a while. Is anybody there?
Yeah, right,
Hello,
yeah.
Is anybody there?
And then when you go out and you say, we're going to be at a certain place, and people show up and you can hear them breathing and they talk to you, it's a different reaction. You need it for some sort of stimulation. I think it helps, it helps the station to get out and have people see you visibly and talk to them, shake hands with them. So I formed this little act, and I do it occasionally, and we don't take the old jokes out. I mean, the jokes that pertain to, that were popular 3 or 4 years ago. I try to update the material to keep it current, and it's worked out pretty good. It's
well, you're a little modest because you're very talented with the ukulele and the banjo, and you've got a nice singing voice. And again, I don't want to embarrass you, but you had a great personality for that sort of thing, not only behind the microphone but in person. Now, we have a videotape of one of your nightclub appearances. Now, where was this taped?
This was a show we did out at Spavone's place out in Bloomingdale, and Tony Spavone has this great restaurant. You ever been there, Jack? It's not too far from where you are. You got to come around and be my guest one day. Sign my name on the tab. Anyway, but
well, what about me?
Oh, of course, no, it's a package deal.
I'm the host, and he invites you.
Well,
you know,
no,
nice guy.
Only because he's the advice and part of it.
I live nearby. He didn't want to get you to travel that far.
I don't want you guys. You wouldn't drive 20 extra minutes for a dinner, would you, Jeff? No.
I'm going to California.
Okay, you're my guest. Okay. Anyway, Tony is a nice young man who owns this restaurant. And he's a singer, a very good singer. He's sung in Italy, he's sung at all the fests around town. And he does his own show. So Eddie said, why don't you do your show at my place sometimes? It's a very intimate room. I mean, real intimate, maybe 100 and some people it holds. And so we had a full house this one night and went out and did the show with a trio. And that's the last time I did the show. It was a couple of months ago. So it's a current thing we did. And so it worked out very well. But we'll do it occasionally. Like I said, there's no one spot where I work. The Sabre Room, that was a big show. Did a show there with Al Morgan. I opened a show for Al, and then he did the wind-up. And he had the chorus line. It's like the old nightclub bit, you know.
Well, let's watch it. This is Eddie Hubbard in person.
Thank you. By the way, we have a gentleman who is photographing this tonight. We have a professional photographer that's putting this on videotape. And he's not just an amateur either. He's been in the business a long time. Did you folks see the picture down and out in L.A.? You saw that one? And you see that? He saw it too. It's a great picture. We want to do a little... Here's one you might like. Speaking about the old songs. Now you're nobody loves somebody loves you. You're nobody loves somebody cares. Now you may possess the world and its gold. Now gold won't bring you happiness when you grow old. Our world still is the same. You'll never change it. As sure as the stars shine above, you're nobody, somebody now. So find yourself somebody you love. Now who's sorry now? Who's sorry now? Whose heart is aching for breaking each vow? Who's sad and blue? Who's crying too? Just like I cried over you. Right to the end, just like a friend. I try to warn you somehow. Well, you had your way. Now you gotta pay. I'm glad that you're sorry now.
Very nice. Very good, Eddie. Very good.
You guys sang pretty well. I heard I didn't know you sang that well, Jack. I knew he sang well.
That's Eddie Hubbard, and he that's his nightclub act, and he's here in person along with Jack Mulqueen, and we're reminiscing. And I hope you're enjoying it. If you stick around for another couple of minutes, we'll have some more. Don't touch that channel.
Have you shopped the papers lately? It's ridiculous trying to get what you want on sale. Well, come to the Superstore, Townhouse TV and Appliances. You can't miss. During Townhouse's store-wide super sale, everything's on sale. Over 1,500 TVs, VCRs, and appliances.
You'll see a spectacular galaxy of savings on all white Westinghouse appliances.
Join the Townhouse team. Get this T-shirt free.
Come to the Superstore, Townhouse TV and Appliances, Milwaukee and Oakton.
You'll find a generous helping of memories from and about the good old days at Metro Golden Memories in Chicago. We have a complete selection of records and cassette tapes from the fabulous big band era, plus thousands of personality recordings by your favorite singers. We offer a gigantic collection of books about the movies and the stars from those wonderful days of not so long ago. At Metro Golden Memories, you'll find a marvelous collection of celebrity statues, plus our famous Maltese Falcon replica, the Oscar look-alike, even Little Nipper, the RCA dog. Hundreds of old-time radio shows on record and tape. And lots of books about radio and television, too. Posters of your favorite movies and movie stars. And videotapes of the classic films from Hollywood's golden age. Hundreds in stock for sale or rent. All this and more at Metro Golden Memories, 5425 West Addison Street, just 2 miles west of the Kennedy Expressway in Chicago. Open 7 days a week, Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., Sunday from noon to 5. Come in and browse. In 1909, the first Cragen Federal Savings Office opened on Chicago's northwest side. Through the years, Cragen has been serving northwest Chicagoland with dedication, efficiency, and friendliness. In good times and bad, assets have grown each and every year. Today, Cragen Federal stands as the 6th largest in Illinois, with assets of over $1.8 billion and reserves of more than $115 million. Cragen Federal Savings, financial strength and prudence since 1909.
Those are the Harmonicats, and you can see them there. Jerry Murad's Harmonicats, and the reason that you see them on your screen now is because they were introduced in Chicago and perhaps nationally by our guest Eddie Hubbard. When was that, Eddie?
That was in 1947. And it's very unique the way this happened. Somebody had brought me a record just before I went on the air and said this was just made over at Universal Recording Studios, which was about 2 blocks from the station. And it ran about 2 minutes, a very short record. Most records run 3.5 at that time. And said, if you get a chance to play this, we'd like you to do it, because these guys are local, and they're playing at Helsing's Lounge, and it's a very unique recording. Well, I kept it around, and finally, as fate would have it, I needed a fill at the end. Needed about 3 minutes, so I said, oh, good, I can talk for a minute and play this. So I said, here's a new record, I haven't even heard it yet, by the Harmonicats. The Harmonicats, put it on, and all of a sudden, when that was over, it was a Sunday night, and the switchboard was closed, but 3 or 4 phones were connected, so you could make outgoing calls or incoming calls. All of a sudden, all the phones started ringing at the same time. And I never saw anything happen before so instantly as that hit. And so I thought, what is this? The next morning he called me at home and said, what did you play last night? Everybody's calling about this thing. And it just really caught fire. And as a result, it was the Universal Studios. George Putnam, who owned it, started his own record company as a result of that particular record. And it sold, millions.
Yeah, and of course their whole career was built on
right,
that.
yeah.
I mean, very talented guys, but as recent as yesterday, I suppose, they're playing someplace and playing Peg of My Heart, which was
the only thing they had to fight, the poor guys, they always had to fight Bora Minovich and the Harmonica Rascals. The harmonica, the guy with the midget. No, they're the other ones.
Yeah, that's right.
That was another thrill. I enjoy seeing people's career rise like that, and to think that I accidentally had a hand in doing it. I feel very, very close to all the guys, Don Les and Al Fiore, Jerry Murad. Yeah, it's quite a thing.
Now you did the nightclub thing, and you did some television too. You were in a series from Chicago way back, I guess the late 40s, called Vaudeville Varieties.
Well, no,
video varieties?
That was, it was a series, yeah, Vaudeo Varieties.
Vaudeo, yeah.
That was a crazy name. Vaudeo Varieties, you know. one of your
Vaudeville and
early
video,
gimmicky names, you know. And it was, they do 5 acts. They had Rex Maupin's band. It was on WENR TV. There's a station you all forgot, WENR TV, now WLS. And they had, I was the MC, to bring different acts in every week. And they had Mel Torme. They brought in, I'll tell you, it was on the show. I had him quite a bit. Gary Morton.
Oh,
does that ring a bell with you?
husband,
yeah,
huh?
He was a comedian.
Stand-up comic.
Right, yeah. And we became very good friends. And when I would take a week off, they would bring him in to MC the thing. He went on to marry Lucille Ball. But all these people that came in, you talk about low-budget things. I don't know what their budget was. I know what I was getting. I was getting $50 for that show. And I get there at noon, went on 8 o'clock at night. And I know that Mel Torme got $25. Ethel Waters, a big star, got $50. She was the highest paid star. And everybody was doing it just to get acquainted with television. They'd never been on before, and they didn't know which way to go. And it was a big kick for me. But when we first went on, we were instantly on a little network, a 5-network station. Went to Buffalo, New York, and went to Erie, Pennsylvania, Milwaukee. And the show was on for about 2 years, I guess.
How did they deliver that show to those other stations? Was there
phone lines?
The hard telephone lines.
Yeah, and that was before the coaxial cable came in from New York.
Or the satellite. Well, long before the satellite. But they had a microwave relay system, I think, that followed the coax. The coaxial cable was from New York to Chicago and points in between. And then from here to the West Coast, they started with the some kind of a microwave relay system.
When you get into the mechanics and technology of electronics, I mean, you lose me. I walk in the studio like this and, hey, how come that camera works? How come we're taking our picture?
They were taking an airplane. How does that work, right? Well, you're on the satellite network all over the country, and your voice actually is being beamed from the Chicago area up into outer space to the satellite, and then spread down.
That's right.
All over the country.
It's done in such, yeah, it goes all the way from Bermuda to Honolulu. And I do it on a Saturday. And the reason this is done is for an economy thing for radio stations that are, not, that are, well, all of them are not making it, but it's what they do. They subscribe to the service, and we all do liners. In other words, I will say, let's say here in Chicago, if they were carrying a WJJD and was coming somewhere else, I would make a tape. Hi, Eddie Hubbard on WJJD. Eddie Hubbard on WCOL. Eddie Hubbard on whatever. It goes all these stations. So when you push a button at the main network, the satellite impulse hits this tape there, and it makes it sound like it's done locally. And people swear. I've been invited for dinner in Kentucky. I mean, people come in the studio. Ed Cooper used to work at WGN. Came down to see me down in Florida, and he thought I was there before he realized it was done by satellite. So it's one of these phenomenal things that really astound me the way these things work. But it's just I'm glad they do work. Thank God.
Oh yeah, well it's a way to get out with the sound and to get you that extra exposure.
That's right. Yeah, it helps.
Jack, you're involved with. We've talked before about the advertising agency business that you do, but you're also very much involved in movies and exhibits of movies, and you run. Not fan fairs, or, well, what would you call it? Movie expos and things like that?
We have a collectible show that's been running, excuse me, about 5 years in Chicago, which runs twice a year. It's a collectible show where we bring in dealers from all over the country, and these dealers are men who make a living on selling movie material. Now, most of the people, I know you're a little more informed in that area, but most of the average, especially the average people, believe that movie material or collectibles is something that you have a Hopalong Cassidy watch or a Mickey Mouse doll or a Shirley Temple doll. That's a Hollywood collectible, and for the most part that isn't true. These are the collectibles that were never sold to the public, and are the type of paper that came from, movie paper that came from the studios, which included the posters, the press kits, the press books, the photos, and all the material that was used over the years, dating back to the silent period, was used to promote a specific movie. And now, because of, as you well know, theaters closings and people releasing them, or private collectors releasing them, there's tons of that. on the market now for sale, and they've become quite an investment piece for people who are getting into it. So I received a phone call from a man from New York who has spent last year $20,000 on movie posters because he felt he tripled his value of his money.
But most people collect those things just for themselves, for
it's a
nostalgic value.
It is, but at the same token, the value of that is you know, from your own store, is moving up.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, don't throw anything away. Keep it. It's going to be valuable at one time.
Well, I was just going to ask you, do you have many of the souvenirs from over the years, or the things that you've done?
Well, it's a funny thing, Chuck. I've never been a saver or a collector. I mean, from the early days on, my father never wanted me to get in this business. I was supposed to be a lawyer. And he said, no, you never make it in show biz. It's a very iffy. And he's right. I mean, my father was certainly right. But it was good to me, thank goodness. But I would always take, more or less to prove to him what I was doing, okay, I would send get a picture and send it to him. And I didn't know all this time I was sending little pieces out of the paper and all the publicity I'm getting. He was forming a scrapbook. And I went home one time, he had about 3 scrapbooks all filled. So he saved all these things, but I'm not a saver. I don't do that. I wish I were.
Wait a second. He's telling you that now, but he's the one who got me into the collectibles. The movie collectible thing. Really. We were at the time, I had a sponsor that was buying time on his radio show on WGN. And we went to lunch, and he's sitting there and saying, did you ever collect movie films?
I remember that.
And feature different things. And I said, you mean like the stuff they show in theaters? And he said, yeah. And he was into collecting that at the time, and he got me into it.
But that's something else. Not about myself, you know. It's nothing about me.
Well, buying time is what that's about, and we're all out of it. I know our hour has gone by so quickly. I thank you, Jack and Eddie, very much for being with us.
Is this the first of the series that we'll be doing with you, Chuck?
I hope so. We can come back and get together again and talk. So thanks very much for being with us today.
Thank you so much.
And I want to thank you out there in Nostalgia Land for being with us. It's been fun, and I hope you'll join us next time for 4 Memories. Until then, this is Chuck Shaden. Thanks for watching.